Welcome, everyone, to the lifting for Tuesday, January 9th, 2018. I am, of course, Joanna Michaels, one of your hosts, and also joining me tonight are my co-hosts, Katrina Schaff and Christopher Stephen Jacobs, sitting right here next to me. As always, we ask you, if you have not, to visit our website, thelifting2017.wixsite.com/thelifting. And there is a lot there for you to see and explore. And if you have any questions at all with any of the materials that we've covered or just something out there you're interested in, then please send us to thelifting2017@gmail.com, and we will collect them and answer them on our Q&A show, which our next one is next Tuesday, January 16th. I just want to put a reminder out there that please understand that our belief with other people that are channeling and doing different things, that for the vast majority of people that they are doing the best they can. So we oftentimes try to state things in a way of maybe our understanding, but we do not try to land blast anyone who's out there because we know how hard it is. So just keep that in mind when you send in your questions. Also, if you haven't gone to Chris's YouTube site, he's included other things on there as well, other shows that he may be on. So in order to see that, I know a lot of people are interested, you can actually just go to the www.youtube.com channel, and then you'll see a search box. And if you just enter his name, Christopher S. Jacobs, then you will be brought up to his official YouTube site, and you can explore that as well. So with that said, we are going to get on to our show tonight, but first, we always want to do an affirmation and blessing. So tonight's affirmation and blessing comes from someone, a galactic, who now goes with the title of M31. And M31 is actually from a group of beings that really came about to us no more than 10 days or so ago, I believe, Chris. And that's an interesting story. But this is from M31. Nothing is served from war, only defense of populace and defense of heart space. No memories of old wars will solve or rewrite the human condition. Only peace as well as defense. The warrior lives within the heart, or not at all. Get it? And again, this is kind of an interesting affirmation, and it actually does relate to tonight's show, because what we are talking about are tools that aid in the defense of having a sovereign environment free from negative influences. And I must admit that we have felt a bit like warriors here, but from the heart. So for all of those warriors out there, we hope you can see tonight's show as a sample of how to transmute that physical warrior fighting into something even more powerful and effective in helping humanity. So focus on what aids in raising frequencies. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris.
All right. Before we get on to the subject for tonight, the guides have asked me to speak on a few other important topics. This won't take long. This is more about our understanding of what the darkness is up to. The goal here is to make people aware so that it may stop some of this in its tracks. The first one is about the wildfires that have been going on. It has been brought to my attention in recent days that there is a misunderstanding as to what is causing the current wildfire situation. People are under the conception that it is the cell towers powered by HAARP that are somehow setting the forests ablaze. The Galactics wanted to make sure that people knew what was actually causing this. For one, the situations where houses were burned and not forests were a set of nature extremists within the cabal that are using such technology in an effort to dehome people or kill them to bring the population down. The portion of the cabal that is causing a majority of the fires are doing it by hand, sending teams into remote places and lighting a match, just simply lighting a match. Very low tech. The Galactics have said that if you spot these teams of people, they will be in plain clothes and be traveling in teams of no less than 2 people. This Cabal faction has also been using fires to destroy other Cabal family structures and territories, very much like a large game of chess. And then now we are back to the push for disclosure. I know that we have touched on this subject 50,000 times now, but I must say this in light of the very recent reports of mass arrests of Cabal members. The example that I am about to give is one that is not on record that I know of. This stemmed from a memory of mine. I will say only this. In the 90s, during the height of the Gulf War, a large number of people got rid of the spindly beings, the Foreign Against Plan. Got wind, excuse me. I wish they got rid of it. No, wind of it against the Foreign Against Plan, as well as the rest of their nefarious history. When a spindly being was spotted, it looked and acted as if it were sick or dying. He stood beside a half-buried sphere and waited for the people to try and charge him. When the people's leader spotted him, they ran after the being, thinking that they had him dead to rights, but in fact fell for their greatest of tricks. The people were totally unaware of the fact that there were buried spheres from ancient times nearby, as well as not knowing that these aliens are energy sponges. When the people became hyperadrenalized, the spindly being, as well as the buried spheres, were able to gain enough energy to harvest the entire group of people, including some of the people much further away. This incident was covered up with the fake news stories of the day. That is all the wars in the Middle East, as well as elsewhere, have been about. So, to reiterate and summarize, waging war in a revolutionary style against the archonic forces is suicide on a mass level. The slow trickle method is the only way to ensure that this does not happen, which means no public mass arrests and tribunals. I am well aware people deserve to have this happen. They wish to have this happen, but it's not going to happen. And I know this is an answer that makes people very offended, very angry, but this is just the way it is. Valiant Thor has told me this, Michael's told me this. The level of hatred would give these beings exactly what they needed all along, the correct amount of energy, with an open revolution. Each and every time in history that this has taken place, it has ended badly for our side. So it's the slow trickle changing our vibration method. So now on to tonight's subject. Joanna, why don't you start us off?
Sure. And just to add to that, one quick thing, the difference, I think, a lot in what the conversation that we have on what we are trying to get out to people in these shows versus what you may be hearing out there is that whole concept of energy and the fact that energy is harvested from us to provide them with energy. And, it's very rare, although very occasionally we do see it, that you actually hear anyone out there having that conversation that there may be an energy game going on. And so that is why we are saying it. It will not be to humanity's benefit if you can contemplate that these beings live off of your energy, then we can't give it to them. And one of the ways that they like to trick us into giving it to them is by a for and against argument where people get hyperadrenalized and then they just start feeding and then they will get more powerful and then pretty much they are back on top. So you have to keep that in mind. That is the whole theory that we revolve around as to why it should not occur, and the galactics that we deal with concur with that. So tonight we wish to discuss the art of a better beginning. And as I alluded to in the blog, this show has been around 6 months in the making. To be quite honest, this time last year, Chris and I were not completely aware of the overwhelming bombardment that most humans endure on a daily basis. And I know that may be surprising to some of you, especially those that have had sessions with Chris, because, of course, he was dealing with different entities and negative entities. But we really, at that point, there was a whole nother level of oppression that we really did not have a handle on. And so we were going along knowing that in the end of everything, that humans' free will choice will prevail and we cannot be stopped. But we actually didn't know all of the steps in between the two of where we knew we were going and where we were now and everything in between. We really didn't. And that is the part where we learn to overcome. So like little numbnuts, we wanted to know in order to share with everyone, and thus our wish was fulfilled by first being completely pummeled and then by learning how to overcome. And I hate to say it, but that's actually what happened. And when I mean pummeled, I really mean it. Not to say others out there, like some of you, have not experienced hard times, because we know all of us have been challenged. But please believe me, we were not excluded. So let me confess and say that some of our shows were postponed this past year because we were in the midst of being pummeled. Yep, there were certainly times when the other side did not want us to go on, and there were also a few instances where Chris had to postpone a session for the same reason. So we do understand out there when times are feeling a little bit hard. This would infuriate Chris, who could not at times understand why the guides were not protecting us or our technology enough. And I quietly sat by wondering the exact same thing. We both had words at times with the guides as well. And yes, we do curse at them at times. For us, we had a few moments of wanting to cry uncle and give up. But those were just moments, because it is hard when you are in pain. But the pain would subside and we would just dust ourselves off and learn and grow, actually more determined. So in a sense, these issues just made us stronger. And I now reflect and can see that there were times that the guides did not see we were in trouble, and others where they did, but we needed to overcome and not be saved. No saviors, figure this out ourselves. Because if we ourselves did not see the need to have a space free of interference, well then, we would not have pursued creating something that would do this. So we had to experience it and understand it and then work to create it. So I guess you can say that our vision that we three held for the future set us up to learn what we needed to be done to get there. And I think this is how it works, the co-creative process. We dream a vision and then we grow and learn to get there. But of course, there had to be a vision first. So for us, it was a vision of non-interference on an energy level so we could learn and grow to our fullest potential in happiness and joy. We are blessed in this family to be able to feel and see the energetic combinations of different alchemies. In fact, what I am realizing more and more is that we are this way because this topic is not fully understood by most. And we are feeling more and more that it is the key to having us to reattain our sovereignty. So we want to share everything we know to date. We did a show earlier this year regarding orgone energies. We did recognize at the time that there was something to this, but we were just in the beginning of our understanding. We have certainly learned a great deal more. But to recap, what we are talking about here is alchemy. And we have, as we have said before, everything radiates energy. And if energy fields from different items are pushed together, then they combine to create something else, which is an alchemy process. A different energy then radiates, and that energy can do something more than the individual components. In the spiritual world, this type of alchemy is used to create orgone-generating devices. The goal being to create something that can promote good, healthy energies and clear negative ones. Crystals, stones, metals, and other items are used to create such devices. What we have learned since our last show is that the true understanding of these devices and how to make them may not yet be fully understood. The guides have stressed that channeling this type of information on this extremely important piece of technology, and yes, they refer to it as a technology, has been difficult and misunderstood at times, but they feel that doing it correctly is a game changer, and it is time. So we are thrilled to be doing this tonight. A few months back, we covered the concept of creating pieces that would radiate out energies that would attune to the source code. We decided that name was accurate for its purpose, the rods of source code attunement, but that's a mouthful. So we shortened it down to its acronym, ROSA. So you will hear us speak of these ROSA rods tonight. So let's start by covering what we know to date as some of the principles of Orgonite. And so, Chris, why don't you take it from here?
All right. I'd like to give people a rundown of what Orgonite actually does. It produces a torsion field. What a torsion field is the energy that is produced by a crystal or stone that is in the center of these rods, or in the bowls that we create, to actually create an energy field that can actually surround the piece of Orgonite. Sometimes it goes in a figure 8 configuration. Sometimes it goes in a dome configuration. And I've even seen different patterns, the way you configure the different ingredients. You can configure the torsion field however you want. Torsion field energy that can be picked up by an EMF detector, the very same type that paranormal investigators use. You see this on shows like Ghost Adventures and whatnot. This just because Orgonite creates its own EMF field does not mean orgone is bad. There's a misconception out there that just because it's creating EMF, you think it's toxic. It just means energy radiates from it. No current tech can distinguish between negative generating fields and positive ones. We have come to discover that a more powerful torsion field will overtake a lesser one, meaning the ROSA rods torsion field will sync up surrounding fields to their torsion field. Think of a pendulum for a little bit, two pendulums swinging next to each other in opposite directions. Eventually they sync up and will match. And this is what a torsion field does. You know, if you have one that's strong enough, that will it'll sync up the rest around it. Other lesser orgone devices that I have come across can be, I've known some of them be corrupted. This is why I was skeptical about Orgonite in the past, because I heard negative things about it, of how, it can be taken over by darkness. Yes, it's about intent, as I was about to say now. Because crystals are used, and crystals can be programmed through intent. The mindset of the person creating it is crucial. From what we have been told, unfortunately, more vendors than we would like to think do not understand the importance of clearing crystals and providing proper intent. You should always ask the vendor of their process and intentions being put into their creations. This is, without a doubt, a buyer beware situation. If someone was being influenced by negativity, they can absolutely put in negative intent into the crystals and actually draw in negativity. Orgone energy can repel negative entities and negate the binary system effects. This is the goal of proper use of clearing orgone energy devices. Thereby, an environment is created to allow maximum free will and an environment to grow spiritually if that is the desire. When using a device for clearing, that is all it will do. If it will not automatically grow a person's psychic skills, although you may think it does, but that is just the non-interference. People are under the impression that by bringing Orgonite or Shungite or what have you into your house is enhancing their psychic skills. No, that is actually clearing the path to make your psychic skills what they are supposed to be to begin with, minus all of the oppression that is out there. There can be too much of a good thing. The human energy field can only handle so much of this before it overwhelms the human's nervous system. Like I said, torsion field overpowering. More is not necessarily merrier. All orgone devices work in conjunction with one another and have an additive effect. This also means any and all ingredients, such as copper as well, will radiate an orgone field. And it does not matter whether you can feel the energy or not. It affects the nervous system all the same. And this is one of the things we learned the hard way, because I have been creating bowls, we've been creating the rods, and we had them all in one place, and the field was so overwhelming we had to actually put it all in our storage locker. So since the storage locker is essentially a Faraday cage, but we were overdoing it. We did what you were not supposed to do, but that was a trial and error on our part.
Which was the intent? Because in all honesty, I think it was the intent that the guides allowed it, because we always joke that we learn this stuff so that we know it's real, and then we try to pass it on to everyone. So there was a point to it, although
there was definitely a point to it. Yeah.
Although it was extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it can make you uncomfortable if you have too much around.
Yeah.
Orgone devices interact, and a stronger device, stronger torsion field, as I said, can change the dynamics of a lesser device. This was mentioned just a minute ago as a point to the ROSA rods, but I also want to say this again because you need to be aware of what you are buying. If there is a strong but negative torsion field going on, then it could change a lesser positive, smaller one. This is just the science of the physics involved. So we stress again, know from whom you are purchasing these devices and how they are manufactured, what intent was put into them. A clearing needs to occur on the property and of self before setting a dome. This means a good saging and cleansing of your property home must take place to ensure that nothing is trapped in the field with you. We learned that one the hard way too. A negative entity will go stupid and act like a caged animal. A good entity, if the field is thick enough, can also be trapped and react with fear, giving the homeowner the impression that the entity is a demon or satyr, when in fact it may just be a frightened elemental being. And the story behind this is one night, after I created a bunch of orgonite, when I just had it sitting on the porch, this was also along with some of the ROSA rods. This was the trial and error moment right here. I kept seeing this same entity appearing in our room, that had a very heavy energy to it. But I was misinterpreting misinterpreting fear for heavy and negative. And what had happened was I saw this being had a goat-like appearance. I automatically was thinking, oh, satyr or demon. And this being would grit teeth and start nipping at my legs and my calves when I was trying to sleep. And actually, I did feel it, and it hurt. And I'm thinking, God, get out of my room. Somebody remove this thing, please. And what I did not understand was this being was actually a child of a type of species that live in this area. They look like Sasquatch and have been mistaken for Sasquatch. And they are a goat type race, and that have been mistaken for evil because people have been afraid of them. And even to their admission, diplomacy from their people's parts and humanity hasn't been the greatest over the centuries. So when I took the field down, I let this little being out, and his people collected him. So that was the little trial and error movement that took place with the orgonite. We have been working on what we feel are good clearing orgonite pieces and rods for everyone and their living situations. We have been testing these out and have received very good feedback from those who have the ability to feel energies and those who just note a better environment. We believe in the creation of a dome-like effect around people's property or home or apartment that will repel intruding negative influences. We have learned that because of saturation issues, that one size does not fit all. And we have also come to learn that very powerful pieces could interfere with certain animals that use a GPS navigation system, such as bees and certain migratory birds. So let us make this clear. We take these spiritual pieces very seriously. They're not toys, in our opinion, and anyone interested in orgone devices should take this seriously. With that, we wish to talk about some of these items that we have created. The Rosa rods. These are very, very powerful orgonite pieces. Home square footage. People have been wondering how to place these and where to place these. Each for a home that is at least 1,200 square feet. This will work with 2-story homes, basement included as a story. For larger 3-story homes, it is recommended that one additional rod be bought and placed in the center of the upper floor. Good for a large property to be placed at boundaries as long as no animals we note below are housed there near the rods. So again, for a large property, at least an acre in this situation. Note, the Rosa rods will mess with GPS system of bees and some migratory birds. This is what the guides told us. That is if there's too many. If they're placed too close together or in a small space, it's just like having a dynamo on your property. You don't want to do that. If they're spread out, I was told that is good. To ensure there's no issue, you should consult before buying. Rosa rods inhibit invading insects, i.e. robotic, and this is a very good thing because the Cabal loves to unleash these robotic insects. Some take the form of flies, mosquitoes, wasps, hornets. I've witnessed these things myself. They're little machines. They're bigger than the nanites are. They're the size of the bugs I just mentioned. And they will attack beehives. They will attack people. They will actually monitor. They're like monitoring devices for properties. So some of the bugs that you're seeing sometimes aren't actually insects. They're little machines, so these rods will interfere with them.
And just to clarify, what we mean by bees is we mean those people that actually have the bee houses, the people that are raising bees. It's their home. We're not talking about bees that will maybe fly into a property to to do the bee thing and then leave it. We're talking about the bees that are being housed there in their homes. And like migratory birds, what we're saying is that if you live on a piece of property where the migratory birds are always coming through and landing there and hanging out for a while, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about people who actually are very much aware that it's there in the flight path. And so the actual Rosa rods in those home situations around these areas will mess up their GPS, and it's not a good thing. So that's what we mean. We're not really talking about the bees that are going to fly in and out of your gardens and then leave.
And even in that situation, having them spread out, a set of them spread out, aren't going to mess them up. It's just if you stick them in a chunk together like a big battery. From what the guide said, that it's too concentrated. And now we're on to the mini Rosa rods. 4 each, 4 homes up to 1,200 square feet. No more than 4 apartment, living, or rentals, or place at the corners. What you do in the corners of the apartment, you put them in the 4 corners, and they are very useful for creating a dome over a rental property. It can also be used in areas of bees and migratory birds, and can be combined with a single Rosa rod to prevent invading insects. Pieces of orgonite. People who live in smaller trailers can use a small bowl. We have created videos regarding safety measures and one on saging a property and self. Please look at these before you decide or want any of these or other Orgone products. I've been working on various sizes of these bowls, ranging from very small to large. The large ones are for a very large room. Like if you have this really large house or property, or if you are going into, say, a reception hall, wedding, any of those sorts of things. Those large bowls work very well for situations like this. Smaller bowls work well for trailers, houses, what have you. So with that, I'd like to invite my mother on here so she can say her piece tonight.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. Regarding the show tonight, I can say I was a skeptic. In fact, I am a skeptic about most things. People say to me, how can you be a skeptic when you do what you do? It is because I know there are many people that are not for real. They take your money, tell you what you want to hear, They have products that do not help you, and the only ones that profit from their services and products is them and their bank accounts. Our goal here at the lifting is to tell you the truth, no matter how hard it is to take, to help and protect you, your family, and land, and to empower you so you do not need us anymore except for our friendship. So when something new is channeled or a new product comes out, I have to feel it with my gut and through my heart first. Then I make sure I'm reading the information correctly and it feels right. Finally, if it works, and they have proven that to me, if it is for my highest good, then and only then will I recommend it to my friends and family. So when Chris channeled the Orgonite and Rosa rods, I was excited, but inside I said, prove it to me. My test started with an Orgonite piece Chris made and brought to me. He handed me this little bowl with a pretty crystal sticking out of it, of the beeswax, and had little pieces of metal and stones scattered on the top of it. I had not felt well for a while and was stressed out, but as I held it, I felt a sense of calm and well-being. Chris took it and moved it from me into the kitchen, and I noticed I felt calmer when I was in the kitchen and not in the living room. So we put another one in different parts of the house. Then we put more, and then we put more and more around the house. We then noticed our well-being turned into anxiety and our feelings became very uncomfortable. As the saying goes, and as Chris said, too much of a good thing is not a good thing. We started removing one at a time until we reached the perfect balance. We also found this out by trial and error with the large and mini Rosa rods. Too much is way too much, so a balance had to be found. When Chris was developing the large and the mini rods, along with the Orgonite pieces, the ingredients alone had an effect on him and all of us around him. As he put these channeled ingredients together, it became apparent he had created something special. It also became apparent that having all the ingredients and projects around us at the same time was also not a good thing. We had to wrap them in foil and or remove them from the house and keep them separated until he needed to work with each individual project. After the first Rosa rods came together and we got to hold them, we then felt and understood the full effect of the energy that had been created. We also discovered that the large Rosa rods were way too powerful for most inside-the-house use. This amount of energy contained in the large rods had to be dispersed over a larger home or a larger piece of property. The mini rods had a wonderful energy, but the energy was softer and calmer and was suited more for the inside of a home, an apartment, or an office. Having all these items around us became overpowering, and we learned by trial and error that we, as well as anyone that buys these items, needs to find a balance and or the sweet spot when it comes to the placement and the amount of these items they use. Once we found the sweet spot, we were no longer disoriented and anxious, but a sense of well-being came over us, and we could tell we were protected. Am I a skeptic now on the Orgonite or the Rosa rods? No, because I've experienced them firsthand and now have them placed properly in my house and on my land. They truly work, and I'm very excited about what we have been allowed to create. I can say I'm very comfortable telling you they really work, and I am proud of what has been created. We have also had very positive feedback from people that have purchased these products. It's exciting what Chris has channeled and was helped to create. We are even more excited to share this with everyone. Thanks for listening, and thank you for your support.
Thanks, Katrina. So I just want to chime in and tell kind of a funny story of how we finally realized we had too much. And I'll be quite honest, I'd love to say, oh, the light bulb just came on to all of us and we really just figured it out, but that's actually would be a lie. Actually, what happened is that we were all kind of in this crazy headspace, little disoriented, discombobulated. We were all having problems with our heads not feeling right and pressure on our faces, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. And I actually don't remember I don't remember who, but it was Katrina sitting on the couch, and one of the guides came in. And what was funny to me, as there was an attempt to have the conversation, is it became more like miming, because, and I don't remember, Katrina, who was it that was then trying to mime to you that we had too much orgone? Do you remember?
Oh, I think it was Omar.
It was Omar. So what had happened is that literally it was like Omar saying, if you can imagine Omar, and them trying to say that, maybe you're supposed to have a field, a dome. We were trying to create domes of maybe like 8 inches, and he had put his hands up like it was 2.5 times greater than what it needed to be. And what was interesting about it is that the guides themselves were having a hard time busting through it to even communicate to us that we had overdone it, and that is why we were having these crazy experiences. So it was really, I just kind of remember that because it's kind of funny to think that guides are miming, trying to explain you've gone way too far. But that's actually what literally happened. And then when we finally caught on to what was being said, and we started to put some of these pieces away and get them out, then obviously they could come in and have a better conversation, more like, see, now you know. And so that's literally what's been going on here with some of these things, so that we can have this conversation, whether or not you get anything, that we've done, or you're just going out there, that you really need to be aware. And we're very concerned and want to get this information out, not for people who actually currently have the ability to feel energies, because there's a lot of people yet that aren't at that spot where they will, but they're not there yet. But please understand that too much will do the same to your nervous system, whether or not you feel it or not. So if you're someone, maybe even right now, who's out there and has just surrounded themselves with all these orgone devices, and you're, feeling uncomfortable and have a little bit of anxiety and are not sure what's going on, my recommendation to you is going to be double wrap some of those with foil, shiny side in, put them away, put them in your car, get rid of some of those pieces for now, and then go with just, 1 or 2 pieces and see how that makes you feel. And then slowly introduce, and then see if you start to have some sort of symptomology to let you know this is as much as you should have in that area. Because I think some people have made it a habit. They're constantly going out and buying these pieces, and yet they don't really understand enough about what's going on to say that maybe some of their problem is too much of a good thing. So, I just wanted to tell that story and remind people of some of what we're trying to say. But Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. With this, I would like to introduce someone who, without their participation in the creation of the Rosa Rods, they would not exist. You see, we here can collect information and ideas, but sometimes you need a partner who can really co-create and bring visions into being. This is where we have said that people would come together to bring wonderful things to our world with unity. So I would like to recognize a machinist and a spiritual visionary who stepped up to help bring these to life. We fondly call him the Cosmic Rod Maker. So, hi, Cosmic Rod Maker. Why don't you give your take on your spiritual journey and your interest and how they led you to work with us on this project? And before he says anything, I have to unmute him.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for that warm welcome. So, like I mentioned to the both of Chris and Joanna in an email, it's an honor to be a part of this project and co-creating with them. And now I know this was meant to be. So how do I know this? Well, quite simply because throughout this whole R&D process of bringing these Rosa Rods to fruition, I have been smiling a lot and feeling that a much bigger picture of my life is playing out and canceling the stagnation that I'm still running into in other projects for the last few years. So when I design and build anything, whether it's a one-off prototype or another need or application, I always build in for a very, very long-term life expectancy. So it really made my day to hear that these rods are self-generating and will remain so maintenance-free for a very long time. For the folks who may be wondering if I have any rods on my property yet, well, no, I do not yet anyway, and this is due to the fact that I've only produced just a few sets thus far and have been in great anticipation of the feedback from Chris, Joanna, and Katrina. I felt like a child might when they know their parents are about to give them some news, so I was overjoyed to hear that they exceeded their expectations, and I am currently doing the R&D on their meditation rods. By the time the show goes live, they should have received the first 2 sets of meditation rods to include the possibility of a custom programmable rod. I do have some ideas on this programmable rod, and we'll probably be discussing this with them very soon, if not already, by the time the show aired. I'm thinking it would be great for you, the listener, to insert some of your own ideas, so if this pans out, it could expand the product line somewhat. In learning, about the alchemy behind the rods, I think it now a good time to tell you how I came into my spiritual journey. Oddly enough, I'm sure a few of you can relate to this. I was watching one of the World Trade Center building videos, specifically Building Number 7, which sparked me into some deeper research on 9/11. This then led me to a website that suggested if I wanted to know more truth, that I should check out the Phoenix Journals. If finding out about the truths of 9/11 was not enough, well, let's just say these journals really jacked my world to the core, and they were exactly just what I needed. There's an overwhelmingly amount of information, but lately I've been focused on just 8 journals called the Pleiadian Connection Series. I have been reading over and over again to understand these most profound truths, concepts for mankind. These 8 journals are authored by Commander Hatan and Germain, and I do believe Germain may have been coined the cosmic alchemist, and for very good reason. I do believe the commander also had a pretty good grasp of the physics sciences that define our senses to stay and play in this university of illusion. I think the biggest mistake in reading just half of these 115 journals in round 1 was that I was focusing on information pertaining only to free energy. At some point, I realized that the spiritual knowledge was far, far more important. So I honed in that wisdom and knowledge. And I would like to note, though, in an earlier Skype session with Chris, quite a while ago now, the commander said that, unfortunately, changing the page here. Hold on a second. Sorry. The journals are around 80% accurate. With that being said, I still find very profound knowledge in the 80%, which has aided me greatly in some of the internals of these rods. I then decided to go back to the science physics studies, and for those of you who are science-minded, Germain also authored Science of the Cosmos, which included the new laws of thermodynamics, and this was confirmed on an earlier The Lifting episode to be valid. My understanding of what is in much of the journal was given to Walter Russell in 1921 by said cosmic alchemist, where Walter did his best to get this information out to the world. I have been trying to confirm if Walter in fact did build a free energy device that supplied all the power needed for their ranch. It was also said that he showed agents of the U.S. government this working device and that he gave it to the government in hopes it would go public. This I would also like to confirm sometime either way, but that's another time. I have read on so many other free energy devices that, in fact, that have worked or that were close to working, which was only helped to fuel my inner fire. So now working with Chris and Joanna and our galactic family has me in a most joyous state in co-creating these Rosa rods to fruition. I will bring this portion of my spiritual journey with stumbling upon a book called The Enlightenment, which has aided me greatly in the basic understanding of our illusory experience. So if we got a little time, guys, I would like to read a few paragraphs from the journals so I can tie in how I got to currently on my, okay, good.
Of course.
Let me get that real quick here. It's not too much, but it really ties into what you're saying about the desire and the intent of going into the rods. And this is where I think, got a lot of my spiritual information from, and may in fact be in part why I was able to create such high energy level products. So with you guys. So here we go. It is not enough that Tesla knew how. That power has been there for millions of years before men knew how to plug into it. The entire power of the universe awaits your use of it when you know how to plug into it. That is why it is worth the effort to gain this knowledge. Now you must realize that cosmic mind created this vast, incalculable voltage by dividing the earths from the heavens, so that the interchange between the two expresses the mighty power which moves the countless trillions of stars of the firmament at inconceivable speeds. The wonderful part of it is that all of it is that it is extended to you to use in the measure of your desire to use it, and the measure of the knowledge backed by effort that you put forth in working with that universal power to be worthy of your desire. This fact you must understand. You must always remember that desire for knowledge and power focuses in your mind. Desire will give its fruits to you only if you first give love out from you in the measure of your expectancy, for the power which holds the universe together and controls its balanced interchange is love. Love is the spiritual name for that power. Its scientific term is gravity. That might grab a few scientists out there and shake them up a little bit. Unless you first give love an equal measure of your expectancy, you may sit at ease and commune with God with inspiring thought exchange and be uplifted by it until your very body falls apart from inaction, which it would soon do, but your prayer will never be answered and your desire never fulfilled. Emmanuel was a master scientist. He was illumined with all-knowing in the light of cosmic consciousness. Any man can do what he did when he has the cosmic knowing which Emmanuel, the Christos, had, and any man can heal himself or other to the extent of his knowing. The Christ received his illumining in the light of cosmic consciousness from God alone. It is quite true that Emmanuel, quote-unquote, Jesus said, "What I do, you can also do," to which I add, when you are what I am and know what I know. That which we have added to his measure is what thousands forget who believe that they can do what Jesus did. And I've only got, not too much more. Bear with me, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Also, here it is, sorry. Desire, I really found this really interesting, kind of as far as thinking in scientific terms. This would be really cool to mess with an electrical engineer's mind. Desire makes its own power current, for desire of soul is the thought power which creates your body and all bodies, and field-made current is its servant. The energy and motivating force which builds the universe is not in matter nor in motion. Energy is solely a mind force. It is merely simulated in matter. Also, we say to you that you are the source of all energy with which you create the universal body. Furthermore, we say to you that you center and control every cell of your body. If you are balanced in the light, every cell of your body is likewise balanced. If your thinking is unbalanced, every cell of your body takes on that unbalance immediately, and not but balanced thinking can correct it. These lessons are leading up to the comprehension of the fact that the light of God's mind actually is all, and not else exists. And you are that light, and you eternally exist. So, guys, that's basically what I got there on for the desire part, to kind of tie it into how I feel that with my deep desires to kind of try to help bring free energy to the people out there, the whole world. And I kind of failed there. That hasn't worked out too well. But I believe that our source knows that my desire is very, very deep and genuine. And in fact, I've been allowed to pursue these rods with you guys and have the results, I think, directly from my knowledge and my desire to put something out to help people. So pretty much that's what I've got to say, and that's what I bring to the table.
Well, thanks, Jim. That's really wonderful, everything that you've said. And, it's kind of interesting because we've had this discussion before. Jim keeps saying he's failed because he wanted to do the free energy. And I keep trying to remind him, well, from everything that they keep saying to us, this is actually the first step to getting there. So you haven't failed. And I have a feeling you'll be doing more and more and more and growing more and more. And who knows what's going to happen here in the next few years and how you actually play a role in it. So you certainly not failed. You just began at a different place.
Yeah. Really, really elementary. Let's just say that. So those devices that I've already played with, they didn't work out very well. So no, I'm really feeling good about the future. So thank you for that.
Yeah, good. So, and again, this is another great example of people coming together. Throughout the past year, we have met people that we knew were going to be there was something special, and but we honestly didn't know what any of that meant. And for us here, as we were learning so much about clearing rods, well, this cosmic rod maker here kept coming up in my mind because of his different interests, but I didn't know exactly why. And then, of course, as you discussed more about alchemy, and Chris was saying he was a machinist, then somewhere along the line, the big click occurred. And so, we approached him to come and be a part of this journey with us, and he was excited, and we were all excited. And so what was really interesting to me, not knowing anything about this, creating something in a machinery process, is that he had to construct an actual machining process to make this happen with the specifications that was channeled and given. And the key here is that he did it with such joy and patience, and continues to be in joy and happiness doing this, which means he always was just the right person for the job. So all of us here were honored to bring this forward. I know Jim mentioned meditation rods, and I'm only going to say this right now because we're in the midst of it, is what our understanding, what our goal, what we feel that is so important, as we've said before, is the understanding of energies and the inner workings and how it plays a part in our lives, how it's been used and pulled from us, how things have been interfered to keep us from our co-creation. And so for us, we thought, what do we need? What do people need the most? And first of all, it was a nice environment to be in, free of interference. And then secondly, because of having so many years and lifetime after lifetime of having such interference, that maybe people needed to kind of relearn innately what certain frequencies felt like. Like, for example, what does it feel? What does the frequency feel like to be in joy and happiness? What does the frequency feel like to be at optimal health? What does the frequency feel like where you have the confidence to be so authentic? And so one of the things that we're in development now is that encouraging people to get a free and clear environment, and then working with meditation rods that are for specific frequencies to be able to help them relearn what's been kind of pushed away from them. And we feel that these are kind of some of the fundamental basics that will basically bring people into the best co-creation and the best new energies coming forth. So that's what we're all about, and I'm not going to talk much more on the meditation rods. We'll talk about that later as we develop them further, but we're very excited about those as well. So one of the things we also want to say is we've said about the strong energies of these rods, and so we're not really big right now on keeping and making large stocks of these. We've had to create Faraday cages to keep them in, and so if you want them, Chris actually actually put up on our website information. Again, please, please, please look at the videos first. These are not toys. We want you to really understand what you're doing. And then if you would like to order some, that's fine. The turnaround time is all going to depend on if we have any in stock or if they have to be created. And then the one thing that I have to say that has really disappointed us all is the cost of mailing things. And so in general, we found out that the cheapest mailing for just a set of, let's say, 4 rods is going to be Priority Express, which is like a little under $8 to ship. Unfortunately, though, if you are overseas, you're not going to get away with anything less than a $30 shipping bill, and there is just absolutely nothing we can do about that. Anybody who knows who's shipping things these days and are not a bit part of a big commercial network, it just is expensive, and there's not a darn thing we can do about that. So just please understand. So with that, I think we are done. And so, Chris, obviously we're going to go over with this conversation. And so, Chris, why don't you see what the Galactics have to say?
All right. I will do that. All right. And I know for certain Jermaine has been here since before I even turned the computer on. So, let's see. Let's see. I can see him over here. He's in a fairly different wavelength this time. Not sure where he's transmitting from. It looks like he's transmitting from the inner Earth this time. That's all I can tell. He says he's sitting in a Faraday cage of his own within a cavern. I don't see it that well. It's like he's got some kind of prism around him that makes it so that people can't trace his location other than the fact that it's in the inner Earth. And he says, lest we forget the timeline in which he is sitting as well. Okay, yeah, okay. Now let's see. Let's see what he has to say. All right, I'll let him slowly come in here. Give me just a minute. Good evening, everyone. You know me as Jermaine, or Saint Germain to some, but it's just Jermaine to me all the same. In this respect, I must be brief. These rods that have been constructed now in your current present day and time will reach far and wide in the new futures to come. Yes, more than one. I am sitting in one of those possible futures and permanent futures, and yes, those do exist, but they are outside of your current perception range. In the future in which I currently sit, which is roughly 20,000 years from your current day, on the spot in which I am transmitting currently, I am surrounded by a version of these rods. In this respect, this is how I transmitted this to all of you. Yes, I am at least taking partial credit for these because of the fact that I and my friends and compadres here in this particular timeline have been transmitting this backwards across the multiversal planes to you. And in this respect, these rods that are now surrounding me are very much similar to the ones you now hold or will hold. These are made of a slightly different ingredient variants, of which I will not name here, because these particular ones that I am surrounded in to create the prism effect that this one sees is far too powerful for you in your current vibration. However, the ones that you are using now and in your current now are good for your now and in the now. So I will say this: the ingredients that I have in mind are for my vibration and for my own personal tastes, protections, and tolerances. The same goes for the variances of the rods that are being created now and orgone pieces and devices. They are all attuned to the variances and free wills and also sensitivities of the people purchasing and or creating them. This is exactly what we wanted to see because of the fact that we wish free will to reign supreme in the current now, the way we see it in our time continuum. I said before I must be brief because I'm on what you would know as a time limit, but we see it as a little bit differently. It's more of a rotation of energies and windows and openings. So I will say this, blessings to you all, and thank you all for listening to the sound of my voice. I am Jermaine. Thank you. Whew. All right. Yeah, I could tell he was coming in from a very different wavelength than I'm used to sensing him on. And I could see him being surrounded by rods that were glowing. They didn't look like they looked very similar to the ones that we have, but they were around him and around his feet where he was standing, and he had a couple candles in the room with him. That's all I could see. I couldn't see his face clearly enough because of the vibration. It was this perception field he had up. It looked like you were staring through broken glass or a prism. And that's exactly how he wanted it to be. That's how he protects himself. Yes, the guides do need protection from some of the forces that are around us, the same way we need protection from those same forces. This is what people forget. They're our equal in every way, shape, or form. They're just more advanced because they've had more time to learn than we have. So with that, I will pass this over to my mother for the final affirmation and blessing.
Courage does not always roar. It is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow.
That was very good. Now, thanks for joining us now or in the future. Our next show is a Q&A, and it will be next Tuesday, January 16th, 2018. We still have room for more questions, so please send them to us at thelifting2017@gmail.com. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on this episode of Lifting. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.